Okay, we've got our bear all drawn out, all the basics. I'm going to add this little line here to connect that leg kind of up towards its neck. But and under here, we're going to start adding all the shading. This back or this leg, the front left leg, is off in the distance a little bit more. So we're going to shade the entire leg in. This is with our HB pencil. We're starting kind of with our midtones. And I try to use the side of my pencil as much as I can with little short strokes. That makes it helps out with the texture. You don't want really long strokes. It would kind of look like long flowing hair. So we want to do little small short strokes that'll make it look or resemble fur a little bit more. I'm going to do under the belly here. Going lighter and lighter. Again, this is with my HB pencil. This is what I'm using for my midtones. And I'm going to add that other left leg, his left leg, in the shadow as well. And again, using the side of my pencil and trying to use really short strokes. Okay, now I'm just going to add some more of these little lines, little short strokes up the back leg, and add some more, give it some more texture and a little bit of shading. I'm going to do it a little bit darker on the back side, but right now I'm just giving it some basic texture. I know it's really light, and that's the way we want to do it. We want to keep it really light. That way our darker values will stand out a little bit more. And he is a polar bear, so we don't necessarily want his whole body shaded in gray. We want to have some whiter highlights, some white tones or values on his body. Back here, notice I'm going to make the back side of his leg a little bit darker, and on the bottom part of his feet a little bit darker. And again, these little short, tiny, little, very soft strokes to give it just a hint of the fur texture. And we'll go up the arm a little bit more, or go up the leg a little bit more. I'll start adding some more texture and some more shading into the top of the body, in his neck, and throughout the face. And just like when I'm doing portraits, I always say to start light. You can always draw darker, and you can erase. But if you go too dark in the beginning, it may be a little bit difficult to erase. So try to start your drawings and your shadings. Try to start light, and then build your way up with a couple more layers to darken it. So start light, and then work dark. I'll shade in his eye here. I'm going to try to leave a little highlight in there, but it's so small, you're not going to see it much. Then I'll go, again, this is, we're still working with our HB pencil. Add a little shading back to that tail. And just trying to refine the basic tones that we're looking for. So now I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow underneath our bear. And remember, we're going to start light and go darker. So these are just our midtones. We haven't started with our really dark shadows yet. Add just this little shadow on the bottom so he's not just floating around in outer space. Notice that I'm using the side of my pencil, not the tip of my pencil. It's giving it a softer texture and not that really hard line that you would get by using the tip of your pencil. Now I'm switching back to a 6B or an 8B. I'm going to start adding some of those darker values I was talking about, some of those dark shadows. And I'm going to go up and down this that leg that's in the shadow, doing the same thing. I'm trying to start with these little short strokes to create the texture of hair or fur. I'll do that all the way down, and then you can see just like on that back leg, we're going to do the same thing over there when we finish up. I will also shade a little bit lighter as we get down the leg a little bit. It's very subtle. You may not notice much, but just something I like to do. And then I'm going to add a really darker value right underneath the paw of the bear to make it indicate kind of the ground and separate the leg from the ground a little bit. I'll start adding some more little touch-ups here and there, some more little shadows, and then darken in this other leg over here. And I'm going to do the same thing. At the top here, it's going to be a little bit darker than it would be at the bottom, but short little strokes, And I'll do the same thing on the back side of this foot here. We're going to darken up the bottom. I'm just going to go throughout the drawing all over and try to identify those darker areas. Now I switch back to an HB pencil. This is kind of your number 2 pencil. This is going to be your really light shadows. And I'm just going to start defining some of those lighter shadows throughout the drawing. So it's not all white. You don't want your entire drawing to be white, or the majority of your drawing to be white, because it'll look blown out and overexposed, and you really want to see some of those really subtle gray values or gray tones or midtones. And if we're shading with our basic 3 value system, our highlights, our midtones, and our dark shadows, obviously you'll have variations of that with all these mixtures and layers of different values, not just from those first 3. That's just our starting point. And in this drawing, we don't have a really strong light source, coming from either the left or the right. We do know it's coming from above, but not like a really hard, like sunset or sunrise, where it would be almost like a spotlight casting a hard shadow. Maybe it's an overcast day or something, and the light is, we know it's from above, but not necessarily from the left or the right. I'm going to go back and erase a few of those lines that I missed, and then go back to my HB pencil and just define a few of those little details a little bit more, like the hair on his back, so it's not so smooth looking. I'm just going to rough it up a little bit. Then I'm going to add, with the side of my pencil, some more details in the shading of the fur and give it a little bit more fur texture. And I'm going to try to be somewhat random with the spacing so it doesn't look so perfect. And then I'll fill in just a little bit of the shading here, just to smooth that out a little bit. Do it on the back side too. And darken those feet up just a little. And then underneath that bear claw over here. At this point, we're just going to go around our drawing and do some touch-ups on the shading or anywhere you feel needs touch-ups. But maybe take a step back and take a look at it from a distance and see what needs to be touched up. I'm going to add a little bit of texture, a little more texture here on the bottom under the shadow. And kind of scuff up that fur a little bit more and add a little bit of shading here and there. I'm going to add a little bit more shading back on its booty. Remember, the light source is coming from up above, so anything on the bottom is naturally going to be a little bit darker than the top. And that's our polar bear.